coming to you with a brand new video, and today we are going to be, apologies, I am very tired. Today we're going to be reviewing Architect's new album, Holy Hell. Now, I'm already listening to it. I'm only one track in at the moment. The first track, Death Is Not Defeat. I'm already thinking this is pretty good. It's a lot more emotional than the previous efforts, especially on track 1. You can hear it. It's melodic and it's softer in sound in terms, but I reckon there are going to be some heavy tracks and there are going to be some more emotional tracks. So we're already one track in. So on to track 2, Hereafter, which I've already reviewed. So like Hereafter has is a bit heavier than Death Is Not Defeat. Still very melodic and a lot powerful. Still got a strong meaning behind it. It's a very good song, mind. So yeah. What else to say about it? Oh, and it's heavy. It's heavy, melodic, and it is a lot more emotional when you listen to it now. The whole album is just emotional, but it's good. So now we're moving on to the third track, Mortal After All. Okay, so Mortal After All is structured differently, so it's a bit more fast-paced. It's still heavy, and it's still pretty emotional because you've got clean vocals as well as some harsh vocals on this. So now we're going to move on to track 4, which is Holy Hell, the title of the album. Okay, so track 4, Holy Hell, it is pretty good. Following after like the Hereafter vibe, it is pretty heavy. Structured differently as well. It's not so much fast-paced, but there is a use of harsh vocals and clean vocals, but it's sort of, in turn, one of the heavier tracks out of the 4 I've done so far. It is, well, actually, by far the heaviest, but it's still a really good track, still strong, still melodic. So yeah, we're going to move on to track 5, Damnation. So, Damnation, track 5. What I thought of this track is that it, again, is melodic, it is heavy, it does take on sort of a more, it follows on after Holy Hell, but it's more fast-paced, but it is still heavy. It's got the typical metalcore riff in it, which is good, because they are a metalcore band, and again, it is emotional, but there's an emotion behind it, obviously. And now we're moving on to track 6, which is Royal Beggars. Let's go. So, track 6, which is Royal Beggars, obviously. We've already heard this. I've already reviewed it. To be fair, the intro, it's got a heavy intro. It's sort of like a soft sound, but it does kick in. It is, obviously, pretty heavy. There is the touch of metalcore in there. There is the touch of clean vocals, and there is the touch of the emotion Architects have put into this album already. And now we're moving on to track 7, Modern Misery. So track 7, which is Modern Misery, I believe it's track 7. Yeah, it is. Track 7 now has a sort of like, it's sort of heavy. Well, it is heavy. What am I saying? It's heavy. It uses a lot of clean vocals, but it also uses a lot of harsh vocals. There's good instrumental, good metalcore riff in there. Stays true to their sound. Also sort of reminds me of all our gods have abandoned us. The song Match Made in Heaven sort of reminds me a bit like that. Still, really good track, very emotional, as I've said before. And now we're moving on to track 8, which is Dying to Heal. So, Dying to Heal, by far the heaviest track on the album. Again, good use of clean vocals, good use of harsh vocals. Obviously, this whole album is emotional. For this song, it has an emotional feeling to it as well, but it's got a good metalcore riff in there as well, too. To add to that, it's also Architects, so anything they do fucking slaps. So, yeah, and now we move on to the Seventh Circle. I fucking take that back. The Seventh Circle is heavy. It's the heaviest track on the album. It's got blast beats, it's got very harsh vocals, it's got down-tuned guitars, like they're going to break down. It's got... yeah, it's still got a melody, but it's heavy. It fucking slaps, like. Heaviest song on the album. Definitely one of my favourites by far. So, yeah. I'm going to listen to the rest of it now and move on to Doomsday. Okay, so we're building up towards the end now. This is the 10th track of the album, but the first single ever released by the band. Obviously, it was a year and a bit later after the guitarist Tom sadly passed away back in 2016. Honestly, like, the song is pretty much the conflicting feelings the band had about the loss of Tom and their pose in the face of extreme sadness, if you know what I mean. It's, like I said, it's still heavy, still got a good riff to it, still emotional, very emotional, and still banging song. It fucking slaps, doesn't it? So we're now moving on to the final track of the album, which is A Wasted Hymn. So the final track is one of the most emotional tracks on this album. It is very soft. It still uses a good metalcore riff. It still uses a good use of harsh and clean vocals from the band. But this one, literally, when you listen to it, it does pull at the heartstrings, because you can feel the emotion, you can feel the sadness, you can feel everything they had to go through dealing with the loss of their brother and friend in this song. Like, it's brilliant. Still, it's not yet. Still Architects. It's just more emotional than the other songs. So yeah, that's the final track of the album, A Wasted Hymn. So overall, I thought that was a very, very sort of like powerful album in terms of the raw emotion and the sound put behind it. Obviously, since they were dealing with Tom passing away, Tom Seal. My favourite track either got to be Dying to Heal or The Seventh Circle. Because that's just raw, heavy, right there. Still, what I meant by you can feel the overall emotion of the album is you can feel the pain, you can feel everything they went through just condensed into this album, and overall it is a very, very good album. I mean, everything they've put out has been proper amazing. Obviously, this album is a different take on their style. It just proves to you that even when dealing with a lot of emotional pain and distress, they can come together and put out an album which deals with all of that, and it fucking slaps. So I recommend you go check the Architects album out. If they ever see this, I highly doubt they will. I'm glad they had, like, you know, the strength to keep going. If you've never heard of Architects, I recommend you listen to them. They are a really good band. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this album review. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and comment. tell me what you thought of the album down below in the comments, and I appreciate everybody who's watched this, and I appreciate Architect for managing to keep it together while putting out an amazing album. See you guys soon. Peace.